Courtesy of Zero Hedge. More lies about your taxes. This is actually a real good article here. Not that they have terrible articles over at Zero Hedge anyways. They always have good stuff. And this comes from, I guess, a guest post via Simon Black of Sovereign Man blog. In 1936, the U.S. government began circulating a series of pamphlets to explain its new, or its brand new Social Security program, plus the associated taxes. Initially, the Social Security tax was set at 2%. The government promised it would rise to 3% in 1949 with no additional increases ever again. That's it. Finally, beginning in 1949, you and your employer will each pay 3 cents on a dollar, 3%, up to $3,000 a year. That is the most you will ever pay. In 1949, the tax rose 3% as scheduled, but it only took 5 years for the government to break its promise. The tax then rose to 4% in 1954, 4.5% in 1957, 5% in 1959, and continued to rise for decades. On January 1st, it will be 12.4%. Talking about 2013. Politicians routinely make bold promises about tax policy, and they almost always end up being lies. Raising taxes, i.e. plundering the wealth of citizens, is one of the oldest tactics in the playbook for insolvent governments, and you can be 100% certain that your taxes will increase despite any promises to the contrary. And my kid's peeking out the window looking at me. So, perhaps the most dangerously of all is that politicians fail to understand that raising tax rates does not actually increase government tax revenue. You see, I think their problem is maybe some of them are naive enough to believe that that's going to fix our problems. But as I mentioned the other day, when you have Social Security, Medicaid, retirements, all that stuff combined, you know, Social Security, and then the debt that we owe mostly foreigners, interest payments on that debt, of course, through our bonds. When you combine all that, those aren't going away. Like that's like saying your grocery bill at home, your electric bill, your water bill, those are mandatorily getting paid by you regardless of any other bill you have. You're going to make sure your water is on, your electricity is on, etc. So, the government is going to make sure those people in those bonds, holding our bonds, which is their banker friends for the most part, you guys get your interest payment. All these other liabilities that we have, got to get paid for. Got to have that. And since they've always been unfunded, and we've always been basically in debt to try to fund those things, and they can never get funded, that just goes to show you that there's no point in raising rates or anything else. And of course, the bankers will know before everyone else when it's time to dump those bonds and let the Middle East and other places like that have them and keep them while they escape through the exit doors and sell theirs, because we will be defaulting on that debt. And I think we'll default on the debt when the day comes when America is experiencing the austerity measures and that kind of thing that the EU is currently experiencing, and they come to that line of, okay, the people can't take it anymore, after lots of people suffered, of course. Then we'll default on the debt, etc. Then we can go ahead and start over with our tax policies and everything else. Possibly. In the U.S., for example, government tax revenue has consistently been 17.7% of GDP since the end of World War II, plus or minus a very tight band. So basically right around there. Similarly, the British government has consistently collected 35%, basically twice ours, of GDP in tax revenue. And yet, they're all in debt and they still can't pay their bills. They're collecting twice as much as we are. Incredible. Yet over the decades, tax rates have been all over the board, from 0% to over 90%, plus variations in corporate profits tax, payroll tax, estate tax, capital gains tax, dividend tax, and for the Brits, the VAT tax. Rates go up, rates go down. If it doesn't affect overall government tax revenue, it does not affect overall government tax revenue one bit. Interest rates don't. Now, if our bond interest rate, treasury interest rates go up, it would affect them in a sense, because that means we taxpayers, more of what we're putting in will have to go towards those payments, the interest payments. The estate tax exemption, for instance, is slashed by 80%. It's being slashed by 80%. And the amount that the Obama administration will tax the rest of your estate will increase to a whopping 55%. Moreover, dividend tax rates are set to rise from 15% to as high as 43.4%. This affects not only U.S. taxpayers, but everyone on the planet who invests in the U.S. stock market. Remember Finance 101. The price of a stock is theoretically the present value of discounted future cash flows. In English, this means that share prices should rise and fall based on the market's expectations about future earnings and, over the long run, future dividends. As a result of this tax policy, many investors who own shares in U.S. companies will now see their after-tax dividends slashed by 33%. And since their investment returns are falling so dramatically, it stands to reason that the investments themselves will become less valuable. This is putting a lot of downward pressure on stock prices, affecting almost everyone who currently owns U.S. shares, pension funds, and retirement accounts, rich and middle class, U.S. and non-U.S. citizens alike. It's as if the U.S. government is hanging a sign over the country saying, "Please do not invest here." It's genius. This is the tip of the iceberg. Taxes will keep rising. Investment returns will be destroyed. Any incentive to start a business will be destroyed. Any benefit to your heirs, in other words, your sibling, your kids, whatever, you want to leave them something in an estate, for what you have worked for your entire life to pass on to them, will be destroyed. All of this because a handful of morally bankrupt individuals who run financially bankrupt governments fail to understand simple truths about tax policy. Not only that, banking policy, economic policies, fractional reserve lending, the Federal Reserve creating all the money to start with at interest. So every dollar that's printed out of the Federal Reserve has interest attached to it. The interest is never printed. Therefore, it can only grow. Therefore, you have to be in debt the rest of your life as a country to continually making payments on that debt. So you don't owe all the money back, not yet. You just need to be able to make the payments on the credit card, so to speak. But as that credit card gets larger and larger and larger as far as what you owe on it, so to speak, in other words, our national debt, that interest payment rises, etc. So, as that happens, there's going to be the point of no return where you're not going to be able to pay it off, and it'll be blatantly obvious. You see, long ago it was already determined you can't pay it off, but it wasn't blatantly obvious to the average person. Matter of fact, most everybody. They really thought we could pay this down. Just like they really thought, as this article mentions, we'll really expect to only pay 3% in Social Security, which turned to 4, 4.5, 5, etc. Now, come January of this year, 2013 coming up, 12.5% is where our current rate is for Social Security. So you can see where this is heading. As he said, bankrupt politicians running, bankrupt countries, etc. Their whole mindset is bankrupt, basically. The way they do things is that, it's like they're bankrupt. So why, again, in my eyes, why are you people, you politicians, even raising taxes, even changing all this crap, when you already know the outcome is going to be that all this crap is wiped away and we will default on it? So why are you doing this now? Why make people even suffer for a single day when you already know this is the outcome? This is why it's important to know history, because you're supposed to learn from history to say, hey, this exact same thing happened back in such and such. Matter of fact, it happened 14,000 times thus far throughout world history. hey, we're doing that again. It's blatantly obvious. We've done 7 out of the 10 main things, right? Okay, so guys, let's stop now and let's fix it so we don't have this hard landing like we always have. Nope. Nope, not gonna do it. Why? Why can we not learn and not repeat history? Why can we not do this? Because you're not in charge. I'm not in charge. Very greedy, despicable people are in charge, who we call politicians nowadays, who make the rules, write the laws, change the tax laws. And the people whispering in their ear, so-called advisors, they're the banking people. They're the ones that benefit when they raise those taxes, and when they make lives miserable for you. Those guys benefit. They become even more filthy rich. Filthy rich beyond anyone's wildest dreams. So this little tiny handful of men and families, whatever, of people, bankers, top bankers, are going to benefit, and that's the only reason why we do these things. It's the only reason. So 300 and something million Americans are all going to suffer over the coming years. Most of us anyways will suffer because of these little tiny amount of people that want to benefit off of this. And they tell your congressman, your president, your whoever in government, do this. I'm an expert. I'm an expert. I work for Goldman Sachs. I work for JP Morgan, and I'm your top advisor. You mean the same JP Morgan that's been handed fine after fine after fine after fine after fine? Fine after fine. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Fine after fine. But we'll make sure that fine is pennies on the dollar. We're going to allow you to break the law, make billions and billions upon billions of dollars breaking the law, massive criminal act, and then allow you to settle out of court with no admission of guilt through either the CFTC, if it's something that they deal with, or the SEC, if it's something that they deal with. Mostly it is the SEC. And then, since you made $8 billion breaking the law this last couple years, we're going to fine you 500 mil. 500 mil, don't you do that again. So these guys keep amassing fortunes, keep breaking the law, amassing more fortunes, because the business model clearly shows you I can make $8 billion, for example, and only pay a $500 million fine, so my net profit is $7.5 billion. That sounds good. I'll go ahead and keep breaking the law, because I'll never have to admit guilt, I'll never go to jail, I'll never do prison time, because they're going to always allow me to settle out of court. So why would an agency that works for the people, hired by the people, paid for by the people, not appointed by the people, that's the president and those guys' job, who appoints that guy, why are they always doing this? Why wouldn't they just finally nail this beast and say, hey, you've done this too many times, you're done, you're finished. I'm going to fine you the highest extent of the law and do the most damage to your company to the highest extent of the law as far as allowing you to play these games. Why wouldn't they do that? Who runs the SEC? The same people from the same banks that they're making pay the fines. They're making JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Bank of America, all these guys you're paying fines for breaking the law. You broke the law, you no good whatever. You made $8 billion, we're only going to fine you a couple hundred mil, maybe 500 mil if too many people are watching. Make it look like it's the largest, breaking news, largest Wall Street fine ever imposed on a company. JP Morgan, 500 mil. Or 750. Let's call it, how about a cool billion? You'll hear that day. You'll hear that one of these days soon. $1 billion fine to so-and-so bank. Biggest one ever. And how much did they make based off of that fine? You know, what they were doing wrong, how much did they make over the last 5 years doing it? Oh, $20 billion. They made $20 billion, and you're allowing them to pay $1 billion. No jail time, no CEO being fired, no top executive level being fired. Just a little pat on the wrist, and hey, you can't sell municipal bonds for 2 years. But you can do everything else. You can raid and pillage in other areas, and then we'll fine you for that. And then by the time you're done dealing with that, your 2 years will be up, and you can go back to doing the other thing. What kind of morally, person with morals even a tiny bit of morals, would allow this. Nobody. So you have a society ran from the top down, as most societies are, who have people their whole lives trying to get control of the entire society so that they can control its money system, its policies, its politics, everything. And then they finally get these certain people in power, and those people that they put in power have no morals, of course, and look at it like, hey, this guy got me this great job, and I owe this guy like the world. This banker over here got me this fantastically plush, beautiful paying job over here at the Security and Exchange Commission or the CFTC or whatever. I owe him the favor, not the taxpayer, even though you taxpayers are paying me. This guy got me the job. You 300 million taxpayers, screw you guys. This one guy over here got me the job. I feel kind of indebted to him. And my indebtedness to him, when he breaks the law, I'm going to go ahead and look the other way. 17 times in a row, I'll look the other way. So, these people don't have morals. The bankers obviously don't have any morals. Nobody has morals, and when you do not have morals in a society, it trickles down to the very people within the society. I will give you the perfect example. This also shows you, by the way, where our whole society is going as a whole, and it's not good. And the example is, remember the Occupy Wall Street stuff, right? Occupy Wall Street, people are out there holding signs and protesting and clashing with the police right down in New York City, etc. And there was a famous little, I call it famous in our world, little story of a lady that was let go from her job. She was down there suffering, and she said, by God, I'm going to go down there and protest too, because this is part of the reason why I lost my job. Damn these bankers, etc. I'm going to go do my part. A very rich, high-level executive guy, whatever, of some hedge fund or something, saw this lady's sign, saw her standing there, could tell this is like, you know, just a standard old middle-class lady. She's not really, you know, like protesting, you know, yelling. She's just there with the sign, please help me, you know, this and that. She was still down there with the protest. And whatever, I don't remember now, but whatever it said on the sign, saw her, he was compelled to say, ma'am, can I offer you a job? Could you interview for a job for my company? Sure, I'm dying for a job. It's one of these hedge funds, one of these Wall Street giants. She got the job, it paid her very well. She took it in 2 seconds, didn't even think twice, didn't even blink her eye, was down there, dropped her Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street sign, ran for the exit door, joined this hedge fund Wall Street corporation, never looked back, and is now loving life. This was what, 2 years ago now? So is it safe to say this lady has no morals? Well, I mean, hey, we all know it's Wall Street that's at fault. We all know it's Wall Street that's at fault. So let's just say Wall Street's the devil, and now you're working for the devil. The devil came to you, I'm going to pay you real good, I'm going to take care of you, nice salary, but you're going to do some of the devil's work. A little bit, as my secretary. You okay with that? Psst, drop my sign, I'm out of here. So yeah, in a sense, she ain't got no morals either. But on the other side of it, if you don't have a freaking job, where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? Stand there and starve to death? Let your kids, you know, suffer, lose your house, the whole 9 yards, you know, live in freaking poverty potentially? No, you gotta make a deal with the devil, damn it. And that devil is Wall Street. Plain and simple. So, anyways, you know, this is all par for the course, as they say. And we are actually being forced, even if you have morals, again, as society changes to a moralless society, that means you have to deal with and work within that moralless society, which is why everybody wants to rape and pillage as much as they can from the next guy. And it was Lindsey Williams, I think, that made this comment a long time ago. I think so. And he said, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. There's two guys in a little strip mall. Both of them have a lamp business. They sell lamps. And someone walks in. I really like this lamp over here. Now the owner of the store knows this lamp's $50 here. That's what I'm selling it for. Because I gotta sell for 50. I gotta make a profit. This is what I need. I want to make some profit. I'm selling for 50. He also knows, as the owner, that the guy at the other end of the strip mall, he also sells lamps and has the same exact lamp, but he's selling it for like $40. Is he gonna tell his customer, hey, I'm charging $50. The right thing to do would be to save you money, obviously, get you the same exact thing you want for a lower price. The guy at the end of the street, at the end of the strip mall, he's got it for $40. And then the lady walks out of the door and you lose the business. Well, that's absurd. You'd be fired if your manager saw you do something like that. Oh, hey, don't buy this lampshade from us. We're too expensive. We need you to buy from the guy down the street to save you 10 bucks. No, you're gonna be freaking fired. And besides, you gotta get your company's gotta make money, and you gotta get your sales commission. You know, screw that guy. Charge him 50 bucks. The hell with it. It's only $10. Just charge it. That becomes the mindset. So everybody does it to everybody. How much can I get out of this guy? How much can I get out of that guy? Someone comes to do a repair at your house. How much is he gonna stick me for? And yes, he's going to stick you if he has no morals. So, anyways, I'm done talking at this point. You see how I can get off key there a little bit, off topic. But then again, it's related. Yeah, I'm off topic, but it's related to this whole thing and tax increases and why governments do it and where our society's heading because they're doing it, etc. So, another day in paradise, United States of America.